At first, there is nothing to see. The water drifts slowly over a forest of seagrass, each blade bending with the current, each shadow dissolving into the next. Light filters down in broken sheets, fractured by surface ripples and suspended particles. The scene feels empty, almost static, as if nothing large could possibly live here without being noticed. And yet, suspended among the leaves, something breathes. The leafy sea dragon does not hide by fleeing. It does not dart, chase, or burst into motion when danger approaches. It does not possess the muscular tail of a fast-swimming fish or the sudden acceleration of a squid. Its survival strategy is far quieter. It survives by refusing to announce itself at all. Elaborate leaf-like appendages extend from its body, mimicking the exact shapes, colors, and rhythms of the seagrass around it. These appendages do not propel the animal. They exist solely to break outline, to dissolve the body into background. The dragon moves only when the water moves it, drifting in synchrony with its surroundings. This is camouflage taken to its extreme logical conclusion. Not concealment behind something, but concealment as something. The leafy sea dragon's body is rigid, armored with bony plates beneath the skin. Propulsion comes from small, nearly invisible fins along the back and neck, capable of precise adjustments but not speed. These fins allow the animal to hold position, rotate gently, or make slow corrections against current, but they cannot generate rapid escape. The dragon's world is built on the assumption that escape will never be necessary. If the camouflage holds, nothing will ever initiate pursuit. In stable seagrass meadows, this assumption is rewarded. Predators that hunt by sight scan for edges, contrast, and movement that breaks pattern. The leafy sea dragon offers none of these cues. Its silhouette is fragmented. Its coloration matches the greens, yellows, and browns of living vegetation. Even its motion, slow, drifting, slightly erratic, mirrors the movement of plant matter in water. A predator can pass within centimeters and see nothing but grass. This invisibility is not passive luck. It is the product of evolutionary fine-tuning across generations of relatively predictable habitat. Seagrass beds historically offered consistency, similar light levels, similar plant structures, similar water clarity. In that consistency, camouflage became reliable enough to replace speed, aggression, or armor-based defense. The leafy sea dragon invested everything into not being noticed. But camouflage is not an absolute trait. It is a relationship. The effectiveness of invisibility depends entirely on the background remaining familiar. When that background shifts, the dragon does not adjust quickly. It cannot recolor its appendages in real time. It cannot shed leaves or grow new ones in response to sudden environmental change. Its disguise is fixed relative to the conditions under which it evolved. When those conditions drift even slightly, the illusion weakens. Water clarity is one of the first variables to destabilize the system. Increased turbidity from storms, runoff, or human activity alters how light behaves underwater. Shadows sharpen or blur unpredictably. Colors flatten or wash out. In murkier water, the fine detail of leaf mimicry becomes less effective, while the bulk of the dragon's body becomes more apparent. In unusually clear water, the opposite problem emerges. High contrast and long sightlines make it easier for predators to detect subtle inconsistencies in shape or motion. The dragon is optimized for a middle ground that is disappearing. Seagrass itself is not static. Beds shift with currents, storms, and seasonal cycles. When seagrass thins, dies back, or is replaced by different species, the dragon's camouflage can become mismatched. Appendages shaped like broad leaves stand out against sparse or filamentous vegetation. Color palettes, tuned to healthy growth, clash against bleached or sediment-coated plants. What was once seamless becomes conspicuous. This mismatch is not gradual from the predator's perspective. It is sudden. One day, the dragon is invisible. The next, it is simply there. And once seen, it cannot disappear again. The leafy sea dragon cannot sprint away from detection. Its swimming muscles are insufficient for rapid flight, and its rigid body limits sharp turns. A predator that locks onto it does not need to be fast, only persistent. Even mild currents can push the dragon into open water, away from any remaining cover. Exposure is not a momentary inconvenience. It is catastrophic. Predator-prey dynamics underwater are unforgiving in this regard. Many marine predators rely on pursuit only after detection. The most energy-intensive part of the hunt is not the chase, but the search. Camouflage denies predators the search. When camouflage fails, the cost is paid immediately. There is no secondary line of defense to fall back on. Physiology reinforces this vulnerability. Leafy sea dragons are slow breeders with limited reproductive output. Each individual represents a significant investment of time and energy. Losing even a small number of adults can have outsized population effects. This makes the reliability of camouflage not just a survival trait, but a population-level stabilizer. When habitat predictability declines, population resilience erodes with it. Thermoregulation plays a quieter role but remains relevant. As ectotherms, leafy sea dragons depend on stable temperature ranges to maintain metabolic efficiency. Temperature shifts influence not only physiology, but also vegetation growth and water density, indirectly affecting camouflage effectiveness. Warmer waters can promote algal blooms that alter background texture. Cooler shifts can change plant composition entirely. The dragon's disguise does not track these changes dynamically. It lags behind. There is a cruel asymmetry here. The more specialized the camouflage, the more brittle it becomes. Generalist camouflage, simple coloration, basic patterning, may never be perfect, but it functions across a range of environments. Extreme mimicry achieves near-total invisibility in a narrow window and near-total exposure outside it. The leafy sea dragon chose perfection over flexibility. This choice worked as long as the habitat stayed predictable. The rule emerges clearly when viewed through ecological time rather than individual encounters. Camouflage is not protection in isolation. It is protection conditional on background stability. It assumes that the world will look tomorrow roughly as it did yesterday. In environments where change is slow, this is a safe assumption. In environments undergoing rapid alteration, it becomes a liability. Unlike animals that can flee to new habitats or adjust behaviorally, leafy sea dragons are tied to specific ecological structures. They do not migrate long distances. They do not explore novel environments readily. Their entire body plan is an argument for staying exactly where they are. When that place transforms, they cannot follow the transformation. They remain shaped for a world that no longer exists in quite the same way. From a distance, this might appear fragile, even foolish, but it is not. It is the cost of specialization paid late rather than early. For millions of years, the leafy sea dragon strategy was not just viable, but optimal. It eliminated the need for speed, aggression, or constant vigilance. It allowed energy to be invested in growth, reproduction, and subtle control rather than brute force. It worked so well that the animal lost the ability to do anything else. This is the danger of perfect solutions. They leave no room for error. When a predator finally notices a leafy sea dragon, there is no dramatic chase. There is no flurry of movement. There is simply a shift from invisibility to inevitability. The animal may attempt to angle its body back into vegetation, to realign with shadows, to restore the illusion. But once the outline is recognized, these efforts rarely succeed. Recognition is irreversible. The background no longer matters. In that moment, the dragon's entire evolutionary bet is revealed. It wagered that the habitat would remain stable enough for camouflage to remain credible. When that wager fails, the body pays the full price. This chapter is not about beauty as vulnerability, though the leafy sea dragon's appearance invites that interpretation. It is about dependence. Camouflage is one of the most powerful defenses in nature, but it is also one of the most environment-dependent. It does not exist within the animal alone. It exists in the space between the animal and the world around it. As long as that space stays predictable, camouflage is absolute. When it changes, even slightly, invisibility collapses into exposure. The leafy sea dragon drifts again among the seagrass, indistinguishable once more as long as the background holds. For now, the illusion works. But unlike speed or strength, camouflage cannot create options when the environment shifts. It can only hope the shift never comes. And in a changing world, hope is not a strategy. At first glance, the echidna looks like a solved problem. A low, compact body wrapped in a dense lattice of spines moves slowly across the Australian landscape, unconcerned with speed, posture, or visibility. There is no sprinting, no scanning panic, no coiled readiness to flee. This animal does not behave like prey that expects to be chased. It behaves like prey that expects hesitation. The spines announce that expectation long before a predator arrives, broadcasting a simple evolutionary warning. Contact will be painful, prolonged, and risky. For many attackers, that message is enough. The echidna survives not by escaping danger, but by making danger inefficient. Those spines are not decorative, nor are they passive armor. Each spine is a modified hair, hardened with keratin, embedded in a thick layer of muscle and connective tissue. When a predator bites down, the spines do not neatly bend away. They press back, levering against gums, lips, and soft oral tissue. A clean bite becomes awkward. A killing grip becomes unstable. Carnivores that rely on precision, foxes, dingoes, feral dogs, risk mouth injuries that can fester or cripple future hunts. Even larger predators must pause, reposition, reassess. That pause is the echidna's real shield. Defense, in this case, is not about invulnerability. It is about buying seconds. But the echidna does not use those seconds to run. That is the critical misunderstanding most observers make. Echidnas are poor runners by design. Their limbs are short and angled outward, optimized for digging rather than stride efficiency. Their gait is slow, deliberate, and energetically cheap, ideal for covering ground while foraging, but useless in a chase. Evolution did not give them speed because it gave them something else, the ability to turn the ground itself into protection. When threatened, an echidna commits fully to a single strategy. It lowers its body, flattens its profile, and begins to dig. This digging response is not frantic or improvised. It is automatic and highly specialized. Powerful forelimbs rake soil backward, while the animal's rounded back presents an increasingly spine-covered dome to the attacker. As earth accumulates beneath the body, the echidna sinks. Within seconds, only the spines and the hardened rear remain exposed, anchored into the substrate like a living shield bolted to the landscape. Once fully embedded, the animal becomes nearly impossible to dislodge without tools or extreme force. Predators that cannot flip it or bite through spines are reduced to pawing uselessly at dirt. In soft soil, leaf litter, or sandy substrates, this system works with brutal efficiency. The echidna does not need to outrun danger. It only needs the ground to cooperate. That cooperation is the hidden assumption built into the animal's entire defense strategy, and it is where the trap begins. Because the echidna's survival plan is absolute, it leaves no room for improvisation when conditions change. Hard ground rewrites the rules. In compacted clay, sun-baked earth, rocky terrain, or areas altered by human activity, roadsides, fire breaks, cleared paddocks, the echidna's digging response slows dramatically. Claws strike resistance instead of yielding soil. The anchoring process stretches from seconds into long exposed moments. During that delay, the animal is neither mobile nor protected. Its body is low, its limbs committed to excavation, its attention fixed downward. The spines still deter careless bites, but the critical advantage, the rapid transition from exposed to anchored, fails. This is where defense becomes a timer. From the moment an echidna detects a threat, an invisible countdown begins. If it can sink and lock itself into the substrate before the predator commits fully, survival odds remain high. If it cannot, the same spines that once brought hesitation now advertise immobility. The animal becomes a stationary object in open space, its options exhausted before the encounter truly begins. Heat compounds this problem. Echidnas have low metabolic rates and limited ability to dissipate excess heat. In hot conditions, especially during midday or heat waves, their activity windows shrink. Digging into hard, hot ground is slower not only because of resistance, but because muscular output is constrained by thermoregulation. Overheating risks are real, and the animal cannot afford prolonged exertion. What looks like stubbornness or slowness is often physiological restraint. The echidna is conserving itself even as the environment erodes its margin for error. Predators, in contrast, read the environment differently. They do not need the ground to cooperate. They need opportunity. A delayed anchor, a half-dug depression, a moment where the echidna's back is exposed but not yet fixed. These are openings. Not every predator can exploit them, but evolution does not require universal failure. It only requires enough failures, often enough, to apply pressure. In landscapes where soil hardness increases or cover decreases, the echidna's ancient bargain with the ground becomes unstable. This dynamic reveals a deeper ecological rule. Defenses are not standalone traits. They are contracts with the environment. The echidna's spines evolved alongside specific substrates, climates, and predator behaviors. In those contexts, the system is elegant. Spines, slow attackers, digging seals the deal, and time works in the echidna's favor. Remove or alter one component, and the entire structure wobbles. The animal does not adapt in real time because its strategy was never meant to be flexible. It was meant to be reliable. Even the echidna's sensory world reflects this commitment. Vision is limited, tuned for close-range awareness rather than distant scanning. Hearing is functional but not specialized for tracking fast-approaching threats across open ground. Instead, the animal relies heavily on tactile and vibrational cues, detecting disturbances through soil and air movement. This makes sense for an animal that expects danger to be local and slow-moving, arriving within the window where anchoring is still possible. When threats appear suddenly or from multiple angles, especially in open or hardened terrain, the sensory model lags behind reality. What emerges is not a story of a weak animal with strong armor, but of a highly specialized organism balanced precisely on environmental support. The echidna is not poorly designed. It is over-optimized. Its defenses work spectacularly under the right conditions and degrade rapidly outside them. That is the cost of specialization. Generalists run, climb, hide, or fight. Specialists commit. In natural systems, this commitment is usually rewarded. Fire cycles loosen soil. Burrowing insects aerate the ground. Leaf litter accumulates, moisture softens substrates, and the echidna's claws meet earth that yields just fast enough. Predators learn that time spent testing a spiny, anchored animal is time wasted. Over generations, hesitation becomes instinctive. The system stabilizes. But when the environment hardens, literally and figuratively, the balance shifts. Compaction from livestock, vehicles, and foot traffic removes the margin the echidna depends on. Heat intensifies, drying soil further. Open spaces expand, reducing cover and increasing encounter rates. The echidna does not change its behavior in response. It lowers, digs, and waits for the ground to save it, because that is what has always worked. This is the uncomfortable truth at the core of the echidna's story. Defense is never absolute. It is conditional. Spines do not protect the animal in isolation. They protect it only when paired with anchoring, timing, and substrate. Strip away any one of those elements, and the spines become a warning without an exit strategy. Seen this way, the echidna is not an anachronism or a biological curiosity. It is a living demonstration of an ecological rule that applies far beyond this species. Survival strategies are not just about what an animal has, but where and when it uses it. Strength without context is fragile. Armor without mobility is a wager. And every wager depends on the environment honoring its side of the deal. In the echidna's world, the ground is not just a surface. It is a partner. When that partnership holds, the animal endures with quiet efficiency, outlasting threats through patience and physics rather than speed or aggression. When it breaks, the same traits that once defined safety define exposure. The spines remain sharp. The instinct remains strong. But without the earth yielding beneath it, the echidna's greatest defense becomes a countdown it cannot stop. The first movement is always the same. A sudden tightening of posture, a shift from stillness to intent, and then an explosive sprint toward the water's edge. The eastern water dragon does not hesitate, does not scan for alternatives, does not test the terrain behind it. The body commits fully to forward motion, claws scraping against stone or soil, tail snapping for balance as the lizard accelerates. This is not improvisation. It is a rehearsed exit, a deeply ingrained response shaped by generations of survival along rivers, creeks, and shaded urban waterways. Land is exposure. Water is refuge. For most of its evolutionary history, that assumption has been correct. Eastern water dragons are semi-aquatic specialists. Their bodies are built for dual worlds, powerful hind limbs for sprinting, laterally flattened tails that act as rudders underwater, and lungs capable of tolerating extended breath holds when submerged. When threatened by birds, mammals, or humans, the dragon's best option is speed, followed by disappearance. The dive is not about distance. It is about vanishing. Once underwater, the animal presses itself against the substrate, limbs tucked, body still, reducing movement to nearly zero. Predators that rely on motion cues overshoot. Vision blurs. The dragon becomes part of the river. This strategy works because water under the right conditions scrambles perception. Light bends, sound distorts, scent disperses unpredictably. A predator that reaches the bank seconds too late must now guess. Where did it go? How deep? Which direction? In cool, shaded pools with complex structure, rocks, submerged branches, leaf litter, the eastern water dragon's stillness is more effective than flight. It is not hiding behind something. It is hiding inside the medium itself. But this defense depends on a precise set of environmental variables. When those variables shift, the same escape route becomes a liability. Warm water is the first destabilizer. Reptiles are ectothermic, and water temperature directly influences their physiology. In cooler streams, submersion slows metabolism and conserves oxygen. In warmer water, the opposite occurs. Metabolic rate rises, oxygen demand increases, and breath hold capacity shortens. What was once a calm, controlled pause becomes a countdown. The dragon cannot remain still as long, and stillness is the core of the strategy. Movement invites attention. Surfacing invites detection. Shallow water compounds the problem. Depth is not just a matter of coverage, it is a matter of geometry. In deep water, a diving dragon can drop below the visual plane of most predators, creating vertical separation. In shallow margins, urban creeks, managed waterways, drought-reduced rivers, the dragon remains visible even when submerged. The outline of the body is easier to track. The waterline becomes a ceiling rather than a curtain. Predators do not have to guess. They can watch. Crowding adds another layer of risk. Eastern water dragons are often forced into close proximity in human-altered environments. Artificial water sources, limited basking sites, and predictable food availability compress populations into smaller areas. When multiple individuals use the same escape route, the route stops being invisible. Repeated dives churn sediment, clarify patterns, and teach predators exactly where prey will reappear. What was once a singular vanishing act becomes a repeated trick. This is where panic enters the equation. The dragon's sprint and dive response is fast, but it is not intelligent in the human sense. It does not evaluate water quality, predator distribution, or underwater visibility in the moment of threat. It executes a stored solution. Under sudden stress, the animal may dive into the nearest water body regardless of conditions, even if that water is warmer, shallower, or already compromised. Panic diving trades decision-making for speed, and that trade has consequences. Underwater, visibility can actually worsen in ways that favor predators rather than prey. In disturbed or sediment-poor systems, a diving dragon may kick up just enough movement to outline its own position without creating a lasting visual barrier. Instead of disappearing, it traces its path. Predators with patience, large birds, snakes, or mammals accustomed to hunting water edges, do not need to rush. They wait for the oxygen clock to do the work. This brings us to oxygen debt, an invisible but decisive factor in repeated escape attempts. Breath holding is not a static capacity. Each dive draws down oxygen reserves and increases carbon dioxide levels in the blood. Recovery requires time at the surface, time that exposes the animal again. If a dragon is forced to dive repeatedly in short succession, chased, startled, flushed from cover, it accumulates oxygen debt. The body shifts from calm suppression to urgent need. As oxygen debt increases, decision quality degrades. Movements become less precise. Surfacing becomes more frequent and less controlled. The animal may break cover too early or surface in predictable locations. What looks like clumsiness is actually physiology taking over. The nervous system prioritizes breathing over strategy. In this state, the dragon is no longer choosing water as refuge. It is trapped inside a loop of diminishing returns. Predators exploit loops. An escape route that works once is impressive. An escape route that works every time becomes a map. Predators learn edges, angles, and timing. They learn where dragons enter the water, where they tend to surface, and how long they can stay down. Even non-specialist predators can exploit predictability if the environment does not disrupt the pattern. A dragon that always flees downhill toward water is easier to anticipate than one that scatters unpredictably across land. The irony is that the eastern water dragon's escape behavior evolved precisely because water was historically unpredictable. Flow rates changed. Depth varied. Turbidity shifted with rain and season. These fluctuations protected prey by denying predators consistent information. In stabilized, managed, or degraded waterways, that variability disappears. Water becomes legible, and legible environments favor hunters. Thermoregulation weaves through this entire story. Dragons bask to raise body temperature, optimizing muscle performance for sprinting. But higher body temperature also increases oxygen consumption. A warm, active dragon diving into warm water enters an energetically expensive state immediately. The very heat that enables the sprint shortens the refuge. In cooler systems, this trade-off balances out. In overheated systems, it collapses. This is not a failure of adaptation. It is a mismatch of timescales. The eastern water dragon's behavior is tuned to a world where water reliably disrupts pursuit. That world is changing faster than behavior can recalibrate. The animal does not have an alternate escape script waiting in reserve. It does not climb well under stress. It does not burrow quickly. It does not freeze effectively on land. The water route is not one option among many. It is the option. And that singularity is the rule. When an escape strategy becomes too reliable, it becomes predictable. When it becomes predictable, it becomes exploitable. The eastern water dragon demonstrates this with uncomfortable clarity. Its sprint and dive maneuver is elegant, efficient, and devastatingly effective under the right conditions. Under the wrong ones, it funnels danger instead of dispersing it. Seen from above, the scene is deceptively calm. A dragon slips into the water. Ripples spread, then fade. To a casual observer, the threat appears resolved. But beneath the surface, a different story unfolds. Shortened breath hold, rising urgency, limited options. The animal is still alive, still hidden, but no longer safe. Safety, in this context, was never the water itself. It was the uncertainty the water once provided. This chapter is not about a reptile that makes mistakes. It is about a system that rewards consistency until consistency becomes a weakness. The eastern water dragon survives by trusting a single exit. As long as the environment supports that trust, the animal thrives. When the water turns hostile, warmer, shallower, crowded, predictable, the escape move does not fail dramatically. It fails quietly by narrowing choices until none remain. In nature, redundancy is resilience. One path is a gamble, and gambles, no matter how often they pay out, always carry the risk of becoming traps. The quokka enters the frame without caution. It steps into open light with an upright posture, ears forward, eyes wide, face arranged into an expression that humans instinctively read as friendliness. There is no freeze response, no sharp retreat into cover, no explosive flight. Instead, there is approach. This behavior has made the quokka famous, but fame is not the trait that matters here. What matters is that this animal has evolved a strategy that trades suspicion for tolerance, and in doing so has tied its survival to the presence and behavior of something far larger, louder, and less predictable than any natural predator it evolved alongside. In isolation, the quokka is not especially well defended. It is small, slow, and lacks the dramatic physical deterrence seen in many other prey species. No spines, no venom, no claws designed to wound attackers. Its power lies elsewhere, embedded in behavior rather than anatomy. The quokka is a social herbivore adapted to environments where overt fear can be more dangerous than calm proximity. On islands and coastal margins with limited predator diversity, exaggerated flight responses can waste energy, fracture groups, and draw attention. In these contexts, approachability is not weakness. It is efficiency. Near human-modified environments, this strategy initially pays off. Humans suppress or displace apex predators. They alter landscapes in ways that reduce ambush cover for some hunters, while creating stable food sources for herbivores. Lawns, gardens, refuse areas, and cleared paths concentrate edible vegetation. For a small grazer like the quokka, these zones represent lower immediate predation risk and higher caloric reliability. Animals that tolerate human presence gain access to food with fewer chases, fewer injuries, and fewer interruptions. Over time, natural selection favors individuals that hesitate less and investigate more. This is where the quokka's behavior becomes misunderstood. Its apparent friendliness is not an invitation. It is an evolved risk calculation. Curiosity allows the animal to assess novelty quickly and decide whether a new object, sound, or presence is worth avoiding. In stable environments, curiosity shortens decision time and reduces chronic stress. Stress itself carries physiological costs, suppressing immune function and reducing reproductive success. Calm animals often outlive nervous ones when danger is infrequent and predictable. But ecosystems do not remain static when humans enter them. The introduction of people reshapes risk landscapes in complex ways, often with delayed consequences. While some predators retreat from human activity, others adapt. Opportunistic hunters, feral cats, foxes, dogs, large raptors, learn that humans inadvertently structure prey availability. Feeding spots, waste areas, and footpaths become corridors of movement. Predictability replaces randomness, and predators are very good at reading patterns. For the quokka, this shift is subtle but devastating. An animal that approaches humans to assess safety exposes itself in open space. Its upright posture, forward gaze, and reduced startle response make it easier to spot, not harder. What once functioned as a low-risk information-gathering behavior becomes a broadcast signal. Movement toward novelty is movement toward visibility. Curiosity becomes a detection cue. Predators do not need to hunt quokkas directly to exploit this. They simply need to hunt where quokkas congregate. Human presence becomes a proxy for prey density. Trails become funnels. Feeding zones become traps that reset every day. The quokka's behavior does not change quickly enough to account for this new logic. Its nervous system still interprets human proximity as a reduction in danger, because historically it was. The smile that humans fixate on is not an emotional display. It is a byproduct of skull structure, jaw alignment, and facial musculature optimized for grazing. Yet perception matters more than intent. Humans interpret the expression as friendliness and respond by approaching, feeding, and lingering. Each of these actions reinforces spatial predictability. The quokka learns that humans bring food and do not attack. Predators learn that humans bring quokkas. There is an additional cost hidden beneath the surface: attentional load. Animals have finite cognitive bandwidth. When quokkas allocate attention toward humans, monitoring movement, approaching, evaluating, they divert attention away from scanning for predators. This does not require reckless behavior. Even mild curiosity is enough. A few seconds of divided focus is all an ambush hunter needs. The quokka's survival strategy assumes that the most salient threat will announce itself early. In human-shaped ecosystems, threats often do not. Thermoregulation further complicates the equation. Quokkas are most active during cooler periods, resting in shade during heat. Human activity often overlaps with these same windows, especially mornings and evenings. The result is temporal overlap that compresses space and time together. When quokkas emerge to feed, humans and predators are often active as well. The animal's tolerance strategy works only if tolerance reduces encounters with danger. When it increases encounter density instead, the math flips. What makes this situation particularly fragile is that the quokka does not possess a clear behavioral escape hatch. Animals that rely on speed can recalibrate distance thresholds. Animals that rely on armor can adjust posture. Social species with alarm calls can amplify warnings. The quokka's defense is subtle and probabilistic. It depends on being overlooked, not outrun. It survives by existing in a zone where no one bothers to kill it. Once attention sharpens, that zone collapses. This is the gamble at the heart of cuteness. Traits that reduce aggression in others are powerful tools in social systems, but they are not shields. They operate by influencing perception, not physics. When the perceivers change, or when third parties enter the equation, those traits can misfire catastrophically. The quokka's approachability disarms humans emotionally while arming predators informationally. None of this implies that quokkas are naive or poorly adapted. On the contrary, their behavior is finely tuned to a narrow ecological niche that existed long before viral images or tourist foot traffic. The problem is not that the strategy is wrong. It is that the environment has expanded to include agents the strategy was never designed to manage. Humans do not function as predators, but they do not function as neutral background either. They reshape selection pressures without participating directly in the kill. The survival lesson here is uncomfortable because it resists moral framing. The quokka is not endangered because it trusts too much, and humans are not villains simply by being present. What changes is the structure of risk. When humans enter an ecosystem, safety stops being a fixed property and becomes a moving target. Behaviors that once reduced danger can amplify it. Signals that once meant low threat become beacons. In this light, the quokka's smile is not reassurance. It is exposure. A behavioral adaptation that once minimized conflict now binds survival to the behavior of an entirely different species. The animal continues to play a game whose rules have shifted mid-round, unaware that the board itself has changed shape. Ecosystems that include humans do not simply add another participant. They rewrite interaction networks. They change who watches whom, where encounters happen, and which behaviors are rewarded. For species like the quokka, whose survival depends on subtle social cues and probabilistic avoidance, these changes are especially dangerous. There is no dramatic failure, no single moment of collapse. Instead, there is a slow accumulation of risk, concentrated around places that feel safest. The quokka steps forward again, curious, calm, unreadably cheerful. To human eyes, it looks like trust. To the ecosystem, it is a bet placed every day, in every approach, on a world that no longer plays by the same rules. At the edge of the Southern Ocean, the water never feels neutral. Even on calm days, it carries cold weight, a density that presses against the body and steals heat with every second of exposure. For most animals, this is a hard boundary, a place where energy drains faster than it can be replaced. For the Australian fur seal, it is home. Thick layers of blubber lie beneath dense, water-repellent fur, wrapping the body in insulation that turns frigid seas into a competitive advantage. Where others shiver and retreat, the seal dives deeper, stays longer, and hunts when rivals cannot. This insulation is not excess. It is finely tuned machinery. Blubber provides both thermal buffering and energy storage, smoothing out the feast and famine rhythm of marine hunting. Fur traps a thin layer of air against the skin, reducing heat loss during surface intervals. Together, they allow the seal to operate in cold, turbulent waters with remarkable efficiency. Muscles stay warm. Reaction times stay sharp. Oxygen is used for movement rather than simply for survival. In these conditions, the Australian fur seal is dominant not because it is the strongest predator in the water, but because it can afford to keep working when others must stop. Cold water favors endurance hunters. It allows long dives without overheating, repeated sprints without catastrophic fatigue, and rapid recovery between efforts. Historically, this meant shorter foraging trips with predictable returns. Prey distributions aligned with cold currents. The math was simple: expend energy, recover quickly, repeat. The seal's body was built around that equation. But equations break when variables shift. A slight rise in water temperature does not sound dramatic, especially to terrestrial minds accustomed to wide thermal swings. In marine systems, even small changes ripple outward. Warmer water holds less dissolved oxygen, affecting prey behavior and distribution. Fish move deeper or farther offshore. Squid adjust migration timing. What was once a compact hunting ground stretches outward into longer, more energy-intensive journeys. For the Australian fur seal, this means extended trips away from haul-out sites and longer dives stitched together into marathon foraging sessions. Insulation, once an ally, begins to complicate matters. Heat is a byproduct of work. Muscles generate it with every contraction, and in cold water, that heat is quickly siphoned away. In warmer water, dissipation slows. The same blubber that prevented hypothermia now traps excess warmth. The same fur that shielded against icy winds now interferes with cooling at the surface. The seal's internal temperature creeps upward, not because it is failing, but because it is succeeding, working hard in conditions its body was never optimized for. Overheating in marine mammals does not announce itself dramatically. There is no sudden collapse. Instead, it erodes margins. Dive times shorten. Recovery periods lengthen. Heart rate remains elevated longer after exertion. The animal still hunts, still swims, still surfaces, but each cycle costs more than the last. Fatigue accumulates quietly. Fatigue is dangerous not because it stops movement, but because it blunts precision. An Australian fur seal relies on fast reflexes to avoid injury. Sharp turns near rocky reefs, explosive acceleration to evade sharks, controlled landings onto slippery haulouts, all depend on neuromuscular coordination. Heat stress interferes with this. Muscles fire slightly slower. Decision windows narrow. The difference between a clean escape and a glancing injury can be fractions of a second. In cold water, those fractions are available. In warmer conditions, they shrink. Recovery becomes the limiting factor. After a long hunt, a seal needs time to shed heat and replenish oxygen debt. Warmer water and warmer air reduce the efficiency of both. Haul-out sites, often crowded and exposed, may no longer provide adequate cooling. The animal rests longer, but recovers less completely. When it returns to the water, it does so already carrying the residue of previous effort. This changes the hunting math in subtle but relentless ways. Longer distances mean higher energy expenditure per trip. Warmer conditions mean lower efficiency per unit effort. Prey may be more dispersed or less predictable, increasing search time. The reward side of the equation shrinks just as the cost side expands. To maintain body condition, the seal must either hunt longer or accept reduced reserves. Hunting longer deepens fatigue. Accepting reduced reserves increases vulnerability. Injury risk rises accordingly. A tired seal is more likely to misjudge distance, collide with submerged obstacles, or fail to evade predators at peak performance. Sharks do not need to be faster than healthy seals. They need to be faster than tired ones. The insulation that once allowed seals to outlast competitors now contributes indirectly to the conditions that make them catchable. There is also a reproductive dimension to this burden. Australian fur seals invest heavily in their young. Lactation is energetically expensive, demanding high-quality prey and reliable foraging success. Females already walk a tightrope between self-maintenance and offspring provisioning. When hunting trips lengthen and returns diminish, that balance becomes precarious. A body optimized for cold water efficiency does not easily shed heat or ramp down metabolism without consequences. Stress accumulates not only in muscle and fat, but in reproductive timing and success. This is not an argument that the Australian fur seal is poorly adapted. It is an argument that it is precisely adapted to a narrower thermal window than it once needed to navigate. Its dominance was built on insulation because insulation solved the primary problem of its environment. As that environment warms, insulation does not disappear. It remains, imposing the physics of yesterday onto the reality of today. Ecologically, this creates a delayed feedback loop. Population declines may not follow immediately after temperature shifts. Instead, there is a lag marked by lower body condition, reduced pup survival, and increased adult mortality from secondary causes. From the outside, these losses may look random or unrelated. From within the system, they trace back to the same source. A body plan optimized for cold being asked to perform in heat. The irony is that insulation still saves lives, just not in every context. A cold snap, an unusually frigid season, or a deep water hunt still rewards the seal's thick blubber and fur. The trait does not become useless. It becomes conditional. Dominance turns situational. This conditionality is the core lesson. Evolution does not produce flexible traits by default. It produces efficient ones for the most common conditions of the past. When conditions shift faster than bodies can adapt, efficiency becomes rigidity. The Australian fur seal cannot simply shed blubber or thin its fur in response to a warm year. Those changes occur over generations, not seasons. In the meantime, individuals pay the cost. Viewed through this lens, insulation is not a passive feature. It is an active constraint. It shapes where the seal can hunt, how long it can exert itself, and how quickly it can recover. It dictates the boundaries of safe performance. When the ocean stays cold, those boundaries are generous. When it warms, they close in. The final image is not one of collapse, but of strain. A seal surfaces after a long dive, breath coming faster than usual, body heat trapped beneath layers that once guaranteed survival. It rests, but rest does not fully reset the system. Somewhere offshore, prey waits farther than it used to. Somewhere below, predators patrol for weakness rather than strength. The seal will dive again. It always does. The question is not whether it can hunt, but how much each hunt now costs. The same trait that once made the Australian fur seal dominant, the insulation that turned cold seas into opportunity, does not vanish as the world warms. It persists, heavy and effective, even as the environment changes around it. And when conditions tip just far enough, that strength becomes a burden the body must carry through every stroke, every dive, every calculated risk. In nature, dominance is never permanent. It is rented from the environment, paid for with traits that work until they don't. The encounter begins with a pause that feels deliberate. The blue-tongued skink does not flee immediately when danger approaches. Instead, it squares its body to the threat, braces low against the ground, and opens its mouth wide. The interior flashes an impossible color, electric cobalt, glossy and sudden, paired with a forceful hiss that inflates the animal's presence far beyond its actual size. For a moment, the skink looks less like a slow terrestrial lizard and more like something volatile, toxic, and prepared to bite back. That moment is the entire defense. This is not aggression in the traditional sense. It is theater. The blue tongue is not venomous, not capable of delivering a decisive wound to large predators, and not reinforced by speed or armor. What it offers instead is surprise, sudden color, sudden sound, sudden movement. In a world where hesitation can mean injury, those elements are often enough. Many predators are wired to pause when confronted with unexpected signals, especially those associated with danger in other species. The skink exploits that wiring expertly. Color plays a central role here. Blue is rare in terrestrial prey animals, particularly in soft tissue displays. When it appears abruptly, it triggers uncertainty. Is this animal poisonous? Is it diseased? Is it larger than it appears? That uncertainty forces a recalculation. The hiss amplifies the effect, creating the illusion of lung capacity and aggression. Together, these signals hijack the predator's startle reflex, a neurological shortcut that prioritizes caution over commitment when information is incomplete. In ecosystems where predators encounter a wide range of prey, this bluff is remarkably effective. A fox, a bird of prey, or a snake that has never successfully eaten a blue-tongued skink has no reason to gamble. The cost of a bad bite, an injured eye, a damaged mouth, a wasted burst of energy outweighs the reward of a slow, low-value meal. The predator hesitates, backs off, or redirects attention elsewhere. The skink survives not by escaping the encounter, but by preventing it from fully beginning. But this strategy carries a hidden assumption that the predator still believes. Belief is not permanent in nature. Predators learn. They remember. They calibrate risk based on experience and need. A bluff works best when it is rare, ambiguous, and untested. When it becomes familiar, its power erodes. A predator that has previously bitten a blue-tongued skink and discovered that the display is harmless rewrites its internal model. The next time the tongue flashes, it does not pause. It commits. Starvation accelerates this process. Hunger compresses risk tolerance. When energy reserves drop, predators are more willing to accept uncertainty, more likely to push through deterrents that would normally stop them. The blue tongue does not change color when the predator is desperate. The hiss does not grow louder. The performance remains the same, even as the audience changes. This is where the bluff begins to backfire. The blue-tongued skink is not built for rapid escape. Its body is heavy, cylindrical, and close to the ground. Its limbs are short, designed for steady movement through undergrowth rather than bursts of speed. On open ground, it cannot outrun most of the animals that threaten it. This is not an oversight in design. It is the trade-off that allowed the bluff to evolve in the first place. If running were reliable, there would be no need for deception. If deception were unnecessary, speed would be favored instead. The skink sits firmly on one side of that evolutionary bargain. The danger lies in commitment cost. The moment the skink chooses to bluff, it commits its body to confrontation rather than retreat. It stops moving forward. It opens its mouth. It hisses. Time passes. Distance closes. Even a fraction of a second spent displaying is a fraction of a second not spent creating space. If the predator hesitates, that cost is irrelevant. If it does not, the cost becomes fatal. This is the trap embedded in bluff-based defenses. They are binary. Either the signal works or it fails completely. There is no partial success. A predator that hesitates gives the skink everything it needs. A predator that does not hesitate turns the skink's stillness into a liability. The animal cannot instantly switch strategies mid-display. It cannot suddenly accelerate to a speed it does not possess. The body has already paid the price of the bet. Thermoregulation further constrains the outcome. Blue-tongued skinks are ectothermic, relying on external heat to fuel muscle performance. In cooler conditions, sprinting ability drops even further. Ironically, these are often the same conditions under which predators are more active and food is scarcer. A cold skink is slower, a hungry predator is bolder, and the bluff loses even more of its margin. Habitat structure once softened these risks. Dense ground cover, leaf litter, fallen logs, and complex vegetation allowed skinks to combine bluffing with rapid access to shelter. A predator that hesitated even briefly gave the skink enough time to slip beneath cover. In simplified landscapes, cleared yards, roadside verges, open paddocks, that second layer of defense disappears. The bluff stands alone, unsupported by terrain. Predators notice this. They do not need to consciously reason it out. Repeated encounters teach them which displays are empty and which are backed by real consequences. A predator that learns the bluff is safe to ignore gains a reliable food source. Over time, that learning spreads behaviorally through populations. The signal that once meant danger becomes noise. This does not mean the blue-tongued skink is poorly adapted. On the contrary, the bluff remains highly effective in many contexts. Juvenile predators, inexperienced hunters, and species that rely heavily on visual cues are still susceptible. The strategy persists because it still works often enough. But it is no longer universally protective, and it was never meant to be. The deeper lesson here is about evolutionary bets. Every defense is an investment in a particular outcome. Speed invests in distance. Armor invests in durability. Venom invests in pain. Bluffing invests in belief. Each investment pays dividends only as long as the environment and the audience cooperate. When they stop, the cost is extracted directly from the body. For the blue-tongued skink, that cost is stark. A failed bluff does not lead to a second warning. It leads to contact. Teeth, talons, or coils close around a body that cannot break away. The animal's survival hinged on a moment of hesitation that never came. Seen through this lens, the blue tongue is not a symbol of confidence. It is a signal of vulnerability made loud in the hope that loudness will compensate. It is a gamble repeated thousands of times across generations, successful often enough to persist, but never guaranteed. Each display is a wager placed against the predator's memory, hunger, and willingness to take risks. This chapter is not about deception as trickery. It is about deception as strategy, bounded by limits. The blue-tongued skink does not lie because it is clever. It lies because its body cannot do much else. The bluff is not an add-on to escape. It is the escape. And that is why it is dangerous. When a defense relies on belief, it cannot survive disbelief. When a defense replaces movement, it cannot recover lost time. The moment the skink opens its mouth and commits to the display, it steps onto a narrow ledge. If the predator steps back, the skink lives. If the predator steps forward, there is no rewind. A defense is always a bet. Some bets are spread across speed, strength, and redundancy. Others are concentrated into a single move, a single signal, a single second of hesitation. The blue-tongued skink chose the latter. Most of the time, it pays off. When it doesn't, the cost is immediate, physical, and absolute. In nature, there are no refunds on failed bluffs.